Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Tina Jha, you're watching Perspective. India today paid heartfelt homage to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the Iron Man of India, on his 150th birth anniversary. President Droupadi Murmu, Vice President CP Radhakrishnan, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla led the nation in remembering India's first Deputy Prime Minister and Home Minister, a visionary statesman who shaped the destiny of independent India and forged its unity in the face of great challenges. To honor his monumental role in uniting the country, 31st of October is celebrated every year as Rashtriya Ekta Diwas, National Unity Day. The tradition began in 2014 when the Government of India declared the day as a tribute to Sardar Patel's unmatched contribution to nation building and integration. Marking this milestone year, Prime Minister Modi led the National Unity Day celebrations at the Statue of Unity in Kevadia, Gujarat, a towering 182-meter tribute that stands as the tallest statue in the world today and a powerful symbol of India's unity. Addressing the gathering, the Prime Minister recalled that for Sardar Patel, the idea of Ek Bharat, Shreshtha Bharat was not just a slogan, but a sacred duty, with the unity and sovereignty of the nation always taking precedence. He called upon every citizen to uphold that spirit and guard against anything that weakens national unity. In fact, let's listen into what the Prime Minister had to say.
सरदार पटेल मानते थे कि इतिहास लिखने में समय नहीं गंवाना चाहिए। हमें तो इतिहास बनाने के लिए मेहनत करनी चाहिए। उनकी ये भावना हमें उनकी जीवन गाथा में दिखाई देती है। सरदार साहब ने जो नीतियां बनाई, जो निर्णय लिए, उन्होंने नया इतिहास रचा, नया इतिहास बनाया। आजादी के बाद 550 से ज्यादा रियासतों को एक साथ जोड़ने का असंभव कार्य को उन्होंने संभव करके दिखा दिया।
So as we honor the legacy of Sardar Patel on his 150th birth anniversary, we also take the opportunity to highlight his enduring relevance in contemporary India, especially amid global challenges to unity and social cohesion, and how his values and ideas align with our 2047 Viksit Bharat vision, guiding us on the path towards achieving that goal. To discuss the lasting legacy of Sardar Patel and what his ideas mean for India's future, we are joined by a distinguished panel of guests. So let me begin the program by introducing them to you. I'm delighted to welcome on the show today Padma Shri Professor Raghavendra Tawar. He's Professor Emeritus, Kurukshetra University, also the Chairman of the Indian Council of Historical Research. Professor Tawar, thank you for your time. Welcome to Sansad.
Very happy to be here, Tina. Thank you.
I'm also pleased to welcome on the program Professor Dr. Chandra Bhushan Sharma, Vice Chancellor, Vinoba Bhave University, Hazaribagh, Jharkhand. Professor, thank you for joining us on the program. It's been a long time. We look forward to an immensely engaging conversation with you as well on Sardar Patel's lasting legacy. In fact, let's begin the program with you, Professor Tawar. First, your comments on what his legacy means for contemporary India, also as we embark on our Viksit Bharat vision. We refer to Sardar Patel as the Iron Man of India, the architect of national university. As we mark his 150th birth anniversary, talk to us about how you characterize the magnitude of his contribution in integrating more than 550 princely states into the Union of India after independence, not just as a political and a national integration point of view, but also significantly as a civilizational moment in India's history, something that laid the foundation for where we are today.
Yes, Tina, you said it very well. And you just heard the Honorable Prime Minister referring to the integration of states being impossible. You see, I'll just, before I come to the other point, let me put it like this. It was impossible because one of the biggest mischiefs that the outgoing British did in India was they gave to the princes the chance, the opportunity to choose between the two dominions. This was unthinkable. In fact, this very option that they gave defied the evolution, as you just said. India is a unique civilization. We are not a political nation in that sense. We've evolved over thousands of years. And so when you say that your princely states can have a dominion, choice of dominions, that was the most ridiculous thing to do. And the man who defied this, see, the contribution, everyone knows that Sardar Patel played a huge role in the integration of states. But it is the hurdles that were in the way. If you look at the history of these princely states, most of them were patronized by the British. Some were petty rulers, some had evolved out of intrigue. So here is a man who takes it on. And please trust me when I say this, that had it not been for Sardar Patel, the map of India might have been different. I dare say this. But I can say I've worked on Kashmir a lot, I've worked on partition. And it is the contribution of this man who has really changed, who really consolidated. You see, India has evolved, as I said, for thousands of years. And we are a civilizational nation, unlike Europe, for example, where nations were drawn out of wars, out of redrawing of maps, out of, religious intolerance and things like this. We grew, as Aurobindo used to say, from the Himalayas to the ocean. Sardar Patel actually revived, he restored that impression of India. This is my initial reaction to this. And
Professor
secondly,
Sharma, in context of what Professor Tawar has highlighted, something that we've often heard Prime Minister Modi also talk about, unifying a newly independent and diverse country in 1947 was a Herculean task, something that Sardar Patel accomplished with so much ease and with so much decisiveness. What, in your view, made Sardar Patel's leadership style, also his administrative acumen, so decisive in transforming India from a fragmented nation, something that Britishers left us back in 1947, into a cohesive republic, something that laid the foundation of our journey from 1947 to now in 2025?
Professor Raghuvanshi has narrated very well how Sardar Patel united the nation and brought all the princely states into one state and with R in hand. What I see as the major contribution of Sardar Patel is the place that he gave to the youth and the youth power. We understand that India has been a great power right up to the 18th century. And this was a challenge not only to Europe, but to the world. And the world looked towards us as a challenge. And they purposefully, with effort, fragmented us. But unfortunately, the leaders of our nation did not work on it and made no efforts to unite the country. I won't say that Sardar Patel did it effortlessly. He had to put in great labor. But as Prime Minister said, he was not writing history. He was creating history. And he was not really interested in writing a history, but he was doing his job. I think there are very few leaders who we can count who really worked on these lines. India has been a great power, and India has the capacity to become great power because we are so placed and we are blessed, I think, by the God, that we have that capacity to become a great world leader.
Absolutely. We've embarked on that path. We've set ourselves the goal to become a developed country, a Viksit Bharat, by 2047, when we mark 100 years of our independence. In that context, Professor Tawar, if we are to link Sardar Patel's ideals of nation building, of keeping the country united, to the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047, what elements of his thinking, perhaps, maybe if we talk about governance, unity, institutional integrity, some of which that he worked on, do you believe remain essential to achieving the Viksit Bharat goal that we've set for ourselves now?
You see, Tina, we've got to understand it in the larger perspective. The nation is now changing in the last 10, 11, 12 years. It's a resurgent Bharat today. And you must place this in total perspective. For the last about 10, 11 years, you see a concerted movement. Personally, if you ask me, I have never feared the concept of unity, that India would ever be, some kind of disunity here. You must understand, as a civilizational nation which has grown through, language, we speak different languages, we follow different cultural practices, we eat different foods, yet there's an innate bonding. And what the Sardar did was he resurfaced that. Please remember, the Shankaracharya walking from Kerala to Kashmir, Nanak walking from Punjab right into the east of India, Dayanand walking from one end to the other. These are all sages and saints. And they really, you've got to understand in today's India, of course, is a challenge to the world. It's challenging the traditional power structures. Who could have imagined some years ago that India would one day be leaping into the top 3-4 countries of the world in terms of economic growth? Who could have imagined that we would be what we are today? So these are challenges. Personally, I've always believed that I heard a political leader recently talking of India as a union of states. I think there's nothing more ridiculous. This nation has evolved over centuries. And so we are a civilizational nation, and civilizational nations need never worry about being disintegrated. Had we to be disintegrated, we've had invasions for thousands of years. Or when they often said, that whatever, so many people came in here, so many people tried to impact the society, social reform, the social system here. But here we are. We've grown stronger with every year, with every decade, with every millennia. So this is basically, I don't look at it like that. Since we are emerging as a global power, so the world is definitely a bit apprehensive. But things they are the way they are.
In fact, Sardar Patel also spoke about nation before self, something that Prime Minister touched upon in his speech today.
Yes.
He said that every citizen must stand up against efforts that go against the sovereignty of the country, because sovereignty of the nation is paramount, something that Sardar Patel stood for.
Yes. I add a small comment before Professor Sharma comes in. Why this day is commemorated? We must understand the major contribution. Sometimes we tend to overlook this. Sardar Patel is by far the most popular leader after Gandhiji in the 40s. Okay. Yet here is a man who's humble to the core, who has no ambition. He just works silently. And as you very rightly said, his sole cause, his sole concern was the nation. Every single decision that he makes, contentious decision, people try to sideline him, but the nation is in the first in his whole perception.
Absolutely. I think for Sardar Patel, the idea of unity was not just was not just territorial. He meant it as part of our discipline, as part of our way of life. In that context, Professor Sharma, you're also an educator. How can we make Sardar Patel's ideas part of everyday consciousness, especially among the youngsters? India today has the largest youngsters. They are going to be the drivers of our Viksit Bharat vision. How can we ensure that the ideas that Sardar Patel stood for, his contributions, are mainstreamed in our lives in such a way that unity, service, national pride, ideas like these become lived values? They are not just part of history lessons.
Look, we need to look at the life of Sardar Patel. As an educationist, you said, I must emphasize and highlight that individual qualities are watched and imbibed. Sardar Patel is an icon. He did not make much public posture and did not really try to project himself as a leader or somebody who is going to be known or remembered in history. He was doing his job. On the other hand, if you look at that scenario in 40s and 50s, you would find that leaders were projecting themselves as icons, whereas Sardar Patel was not. He was working for the nation and working on those groups which would really be important in the times to come for India, like the youth. If you look at his work, he was working on youth power. What now we are all the time claiming that we are the youngest nation, we are the largest nation in terms of population. Sardar Patel had that vision. What I would like to emphasize that Sardar Patel was a silent worker and he did not really try to project himself, and that is important for India. But one fact is very important. Sardar Patel never buckled. Look at his videos of the time. He never presented himself as second rate or a leader of a developing nation or third world nation. Sardar Patel always presented himself as a leader of a large nation, what we must have emphasized, and that is what to be noticed and imbibed. What we are now doing, our leaders of today do not buckle in front of the West or American leaders. That is very important. The youth power that I would think that Patel emphasized and forcefully enforced, that the youth must be in the forefront, they must be given position, was very important. And that also led to his strength, that we could unite the nation and also put pressure on all the states that they must join Bharat. Second very important thing about Patel is that he was what he presented. There was not two images of Patel. Patel is known what he was. There were not two images of Patel. There was no public life and private life of Patel. That is very, very important. What I would think our Prime Minister Modi has. He is what he presents himself in the public and what he lives. That is very important. Patel had one life, one image, and one picture in the society.
In fact, you're right. It was a combination of Sardar Patel's firmness, pragmatism, which ensured that India did not meet the same fate as other decolonized nations, which descended into chaos. India today has emerged as a global power. We are one of the fastest growing major economies. Professor Tawar, if I may come back to you, as someone who studied Sardar Patel, you've also explained to us what he stood for. A lot of what he envisioned back in 1947 is today a reality. If from Sardar's lens, if you were to look at India today, what would be some of the aspects in our journey that you think he would be extremely proud of, but also some of the areas where he would perhaps urge us to do better?
You see, Tina, you raised a very pertinent issue. There is little doubt in this country. I mean, just look at the Northeast, for example. I mean, the Northeast, 15 years, Sardar's dream was to see this country deeply integrated, united. For almost 3-4 decades, we had forgotten the Northeast. See where it is today. Likewise, you have, the national resurgence. You would be so happy to see this nation standing up on its feet and proudly with its, I would say, on its feet, ready to face any challenge. Compare the country from what it was, say, around 4 decades, 5 decades ago. So this is a long storyline here. But the fact is, the Sardar's vision of a resurgent, integrated India, powerful India, Sardar was very keen for this. He always dreamt of this, strong nation that could stand up. So this is the country that he would have visualized. See, there are, imbalances in development, but that is a transitory phase. This country is changing. So this is the point I feel that Sardar would have been very happy to see. I must add another point here, that he as head of the Council of Historical Research, the Indian Council of Historical Research, I have no hesitation in recording that history has been very unkind to Sardar Patel. If you look at the narratives that have prevailed, the mainstream narratives that were developed, say 15, 20 years, 40 years ago, the Sardar does not find a place. I'm very happy to tell your viewers here that the Indian Council of Historical Research has committed itself to a 100-volume project of the complete, right? Every line that the Sardar spoke, he wrote. He was a prolific writer. Let me tell you this. He wrote extensively. He was a brilliant spellbinding orator. But we don't have documentation of that. Right. So we are doing this. I thought I must let your viewers know this.
Certainly, and that's something that Prime Minister Modi also spoke about in his speech. It's good that you highlighted for us and our viewers as well. Sardar Patel said something which perhaps will be quite relevant and which will resonate with our younger and future generations, that we don't wait for what history has to write about us. We make efforts to create history. He worked silently towards that, something which laid the foundation for an India which was not just a piece of land, which came to be known for its unity in diversity, something that we are so proud of when we are talking about India globally, that unity in diversity is something that makes India stand apart. Professor Sharma, I'll take the same question to you that I asked Professor Tawar a little while ago, that if Sardar Patel were alive today and if he were to look at India's journey since 1947, and India, which is today an emerging power, which is now looking in the eye of global powers, not succumbing to any kind of international pressures, the firmness for which Sardar Patel was also known back then, which are the areas that he would be proud of, but which are some of the areas that he would also urge the current leadership to put in more efforts into?
See, the most important thing that I would recommend, and I would say that we must highlight, I'm very happy that Professor Tawar has informed us and shared with us that the Indian Council of Historical Research has come up with 100 volume on Sardar Patel. We must look at all the qualities and especially the firm power of Patel as a leader of a large nation. Our leaders must be aware that they lead the largest nation of the world today. And that is what Sardar Patel stood for. He was a totally Bharatiya in his lifestyle, in his thinking, and he projected it as well. He was not shy of it. He never made any bones about the culture that we have, and which is a great culture, which has been sort of ruined by 1,000 years of invasion. But Sardar Patel was proud of it. I think that is most important. And what I find the leaders of today doing it, they are not shy or ashamed, feel ashamed of our own cultural identity. That is very important. Unless and until we do that, we would never be able to be a Viksit Bharat 2047, because we have been great because of our qualities. And the West or the invaders, by design, by effort, tried to change that. I think that is most important. Sardar Patel was a true Bharatiya in life and what he projected himself, and he thought of it for 100 years ahead of times. So I think the qualities of Sardar as a firm leader of a large nation, not to buckle before any power. We are powerful. We are the largest nation. We are a rich nation. And I don't need to, give more data on it. We are a rich nation. We were a rich nation. And I have no doubts we would again be a rich nation if we are not invaded. So in that context, I would say we somewhere buckled by believing that we were weak, हम कमजोर हैं, हम दबे कुचले हैं, ये सरदार कभी एक्सेप्ट नहीं करते थे और करना भी नहीं चाहिए। और हमको लगता है कि आज के परिप्रेक्ष्य में सबसे ज्यादा जरूरी है ये करना। हम बड़े हैं, हम बलवान हैं, हम बड़े हैं, और यही भारत को 2047 में
in fact he's been an unsung hero, but especially since 2014 when Rashtriya Ekta Diwas was celebrated for the first time, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi assumed office as the Prime Minister. Since then we've been celebrating Rashtriya Ekta Diwas every year. This year it was more special, more significant, because it marked the 150th birth anniversary of Sardar Patel. Professor Tawar, we did discuss how the momentum and the contribution that he created for a newly independent India was not documented as much as it should have been, given the scale of his contribution. But nevertheless, his ideals, his philosophies have now become mainstream. We are trying to align it to our vision of Viksit Bharat. At the same time, we're also navigating a lot of challenges, both domestically, also in the global context. How do you see Sardar Patel's philosophy of Ek Bharat, Shreshtha Bharat guiding us as our lighting principle, as the lighthouse, as we move towards our 2047 goal?
You see, Tina, again, you raised a very pertinent issue here. You put it very well. See, sometimes I get the impression, I've been a student of history for the last 50 years, and when I observe the Honorable Prime Minister Modi style of work, I sometimes get the impression that actually if there is a role model that he's following, I've observed this in many, we don't have the time here, but in so many areas, I've noticed that the role model that the Prime Minister has is Sardar. For example, he is completely a great nationalist, a complete patriot, a clear focus of what he wants. He's decisive. He does not buckle under pressure. He does not yield to false narratives. These are all qualities that Sardar, anyone who has studied the Sardar, Sardar had a very difficult political life. Please understand that. And the result was that we were not even able to develop a proper documentation of him. For almost 50 years, the man was sidelined. Right. And we are bringing him back into center stage. The Prime Minister started this process almost 10 years ago. So this is a long story here, But as you raised in the previous question that you raised, or what kind of model did Sardar have? I mean, you can see it in the Prime Minister's actions. Integration, equal development across all regions, moving up, all sections of society being lifted, the youth in particular. We have so many programs for the youth. And above all, a resurgent India, a resurgent Bharat, a powerful Bharat, as Professor Sharma said. See, compare India, what it was, as I said earlier, 40, 50 years ago, and what it is today. So these are all models that Sardar set. And fortunately, we have a man who is imbibed to those values and who's taken it on himself to follow those steps.
So history may not have been extremely kind to the person that he was and his contributions, but we're trying to make his values reach every youngster today, and especially by aligning his values, his ideals, his philosophy with our 2047 Viksit Bharat vision. Today is an important day as we mark, honor and celebrate 150th birth anniversary of the Iron Man of India. Professor Sharma, one last comment from you on what would be the single most enduring message, especially for our future generations, something that Sardar Patel stood for, but something that will guide us more pertinently towards our 2047 goal and beyond?
I think the message that I would recommend or think that we should stick to, that Sardar always thought we are one and we have to be one. We are one nation. We may be different in terms of our habits, in terms of our clothing, but we are one at the deep structure. That is one nation, one philosophy, and one ideology. He did not believe in divide and rule. He believed in unite and rule. That message must go, that we are one, we are Bharatiya, and unless and until we remain that, we will never be able to achieve the same position that Bharat had before 18th century.
Absolutely. I think the three most important ideas that he stood for was unity, keeping the country united, integrity, and good governance. It's also important that as we march towards our 2047 goal, these values should be integrated more deeply into our educational and civic culture to shape citizens towards becoming a Viksit Bharat. With that, we'll have to wrap up the conversation. Time allows us to take up only that much on the program. Thank you once again, gentlemen, for joining us on this edition of Perspective, putting across your thoughts, your views before us and our viewers. And to you viewers, thank you very much for your time as well.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and share them.